Hey everybody, Glenn here again with Deviation Sports Cards for the final chapter in our pre-grading series that I've been doing. So today we're going to focus on edges. That's the last section we need to work on. So as I did in my corners video, we're going to be using this microscope here to take a look at the edges. So first we'll go over the breakdown. I do think edges is one of the more, how do I say, unclear criteria that CSG has. The reason I say that is because if you look at their criteria for a lot of room here, so you can see kind of 6, 6, 5, 7, and 7, 5, pretty much all they say is slightly rough edges. They have this relatively smooth with only minor touches of wear for 885, maybe chipping on edges or minor border discoloration. So there's lots of doubling up in this 5 through 8.5 range where they don't really give a lot of clarity on what the differentiators are from a 5 to an 8.5, which is a pretty wide window as far as I'm concerned. You can see that, they talk about gloss, minor flaws on the edges. Here you're talking about wear, chipping comes into play, rough edges, maybe chipping on the edges with minor border discoloration comes into play. And you've got off-white borders, minor staining, moderate staining, heavier staining, creasing on the edges that goes from edge to edge. And then we get into catastrophic flaws. So it's very vague in this middle range, which makes it kind of difficult if you don't know specifically what their criteria is to gauge what the edge grade is going to be. So like I said, we're going to kind of be learning together as I go through this, because I'm not a expert by any stretch. I'm kind of learning as I go here with you guys. I'm just showing you my process. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and move on over to the microscope, and we'll take a look at the edges on the Dante Lavelli. So just like I did on the corners, I'll bring it up in, I'll get it focused up, and I'll just kind of move it across the edge. So you kind of see already that there is some discoloration in the edge, especially as we come across here. Not too much chipping or anything going on. A little bit of chipping, but this is under high magnification. I'd say the discoloration on this edge is probably the biggest concern for me. And you just gotta kind of slide it across there and take it as slow as you can. And then I'll just rotate the card. And I'll come over here and check the next side. Now you can see here there's a little bit of gloss loss on a couple of those spots. Still a little bit of discoloration going on. As we go all the way down through there. Now on these vintage cards, you're not going to get a super smooth edge like you're going to see on like modern cards, just because of the stock that the cards are made out of. It's, you're not going to get that, especially on these like older 50s cards there. You can see quite a bit of chipping and color loss going on. Pretty significant spot of it right there. Just kind of show you some. There's a pretty decent chunk right there. Still some more discoloration going on in there. So lots more chipping going on that corner. Kind of rough right there. There's a big old nasty mark. So quite a bit of chipping and discoloration going on that edge. Then we come over here to the bottom. Focus that in a little bit better. Come across here. See some small print spots on there, but the surface, we've already gone through that. A little bit of discoloration and chipping going on. So kind of a little bit of the same. You can see here, this stretch through here, no discoloration, no real chipping going on. That's probably the best you're going to see on a vintage card, really. So this doesn't look horrible comparatively. And we'll go ahead and get over here to the left side. And not looking terrible through there. A little bit of roughness, but nothing super significant. Let me try to focus that in a little bit better. There we go. Yeah, a little uneven, a little bit of chipping going on right there. You know, the coloring and the chipping is a lot better on the bottom and this left side than it is on the right and the top, for sure. But unfortunately, the damage is kind of done with those other two, so it doesn't really matter a whole lot. So there you go. That's really all I'll do, and then I'll kind of like evaluate each one of those. So if we come back over to the screen share, pull up the Dante Lavelli file. So essentially what I do is then I come in here and I kind of make notes. So I'm not going to go through the front and back because I'm going to try to keep this video relatively short. So you can see here, you know, I have noted the chipping and the minor discoloration, and being that there is a lot of overlap, I kind of put my own qualifiers in here for now, just until I learn more. So, you know, being that there was, you know, this common wording across multiple grade scales, the 5 and the 5.5 pretty much said exactly the same thing. I kind of just went ahead and added qualifiers saying, okay, 1 to 2 edges will get the little bit higher score. If it's on all the edges, it's going to take it down to a 5. So being that there was 3 of the 4 edges that had, you know, some chipping or some minor discoloration, that's how we got up into this. And then the one looks pretty good with no chipping on it. And then the back, when I went through there was, again, some slightly rough edges. I did the same thing here because rough edges, you know, goes across so many of the different categories for edges that it's hard to really say where the line is. Like you can see here, 6 to 7.5 is all just says slightly rough edges. There's no real qualifiers beyond that. So I just kind of, again, kind of quantified it in terms of how many edges were in that condition. And then we had a little bit of chipping and discoloration on another one. So overall, on the Dante Lavelli, I'm saying that we're going to end up getting a 5 on edges. So when we compare that to, you know, what I graded everything else at, you know, surface I gave it a 4.5, edges are going to get a 5, corners a 4 and a 5, centering an 8, which unfortunately is going to bring this thing to a 4.5 because we got these 2 4.5 grades here. So I'm saying that we're probably going to get a 4.5 on the Dante Lavelli, which unfortunately is less than what I anticipated when I bought this card. But I guess this is the value of doing a pre-grading, is if I had just taken this card at eye value, you know, from an eye appeal perspective and what I thought just at my first look, I'd have probably been pretty disappointed to get this card back and get a 4.5. But now I'm kind of anticipating that. Now maybe I'm being a little harsh, and maybe it'll come back a little bit better than that. But based off the criteria and what I'm seeing, you know, that's telling me that that's more than likely what I'm going to see when I get back the card back. Now what we're going to do is I'll switch over and show you the Brady. This is the Mosaic. So this is a newer card, so obviously we're going to hopefully see a lot more crispness, a lot cleaner edge than what we saw on that vintage card. So you can see here there's a little bit of minor fraying going on, but overall the edge looks really good. No chipping, no gloss loss, which is kind of what you should expect on a modern card, especially, you know, a chrome card like this. So really, you know, that corner or that edge is looking really good. Getting a little bit of out of focus there because this card is a little, you know, bowed as newer cards can be, especially chrome cards. So it's going to kind of go in and out of focus a little bit on us here. You know, coming across this other side again, you can see a real nice smooth edge. You know, a little bit of like fuzziness going on there, but that's really, I don't get too worked up about that. I would call that very minor, if anything, to be honest with you. So this edge looks really clean as well. And I'm going to go ahead and just come all the way down here. And then get to that corner, rotate just like we did with the Lavelli. Come across the, now you can see there, it looks like there's, see how that light reflects, kind of looks like it's humping over. I don't know if that's a slight edge imperfection, but it's something I guess we can keep an eye on when we get the card back, if we maybe don't see the grade we anticipated we would see. You can see it kind of again. You can see that light kind of rotate over that. But I don't really necessarily think that's anything major, to be honest with you. I think the edges on this card look really good, kind of what I would expect to see on a newer ultra modern card. And then the final front edge, as you can see, we're going out of focus a little bit there. So you can kind of see everything's looking pretty clean. Tiny hair, but this is a super magnification, guys. So those little tiny fuzzies you see off the corner there, or off the edge, I'm not really too concerned with that. I'm more just concerned with how straight is it. Is there any chipping? Is there any discoloration, anything like that? Any marks, any scratches, things of that nature. And I think the front of this card looks absolutely gorgeous. Now, one thing I did want to show is on the back of this card. I mentioned in my Surface video that it was kind of hard to see these print lines that were running across there. And I think you could probably already see just by what I'm showing you there, but let's go ahead and get this edge. So you can see, if you look right there, you can see, and as I follow that across, see that line that's going all the way across, and it kind of stops, and then it picks back up. And then actually, if I come down, you can see it again right there. There's another one of those print lines that I was telling you about. So sometimes the microscope can be handy, especially if you see a defect on a surface when you're looking at it, just in the light. Maybe you can put the defect under the microscope when you know exactly where you're looking, and it will help you see that, that roller line or print line just going all the way across there. So this one, now that I see it under the microscope, I'm even more concerned about it, to be honest with you. I am going to go ahead and send this in because, like I said, it does not specifically call out a defect like this on their grading scale. So I'm going to send it in just because I'm curious. Oh, look, you can even see a dimple right there. Look at that. See that right there? So there's a little bit of a dimple. I didn't even see that when I was looking at it in my last video. So you can detect some surface defects under the microscope if the lighting's right, and like I said, most of the time if you know where it's at. But if I come across the edge on the back here, I'm not going to do all four just for sake of time because I'm trying to keep this short. You can see very similar to what we're seeing on the front. You got those little tiny hairs coming off there, but again, that's a pretty significant magnification. Edges are pretty straight, no chipping going on. Got to keep adjusting the focus on this because it's, like I said, it's a little bit bowed, so the focus is coming in and out. But yeah, nothing significant really on the edges at all. What is that? That's interesting. There's another little defect I did not see. Yeah, you can kind of see that a little bit. I wonder if that'll come off there. Nope. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know that would actually, it's under such extreme magnification for that to pop up, but it's possible that could end up affecting our surface grade as well. And then there's the rest of it. So like I said, I'm not going to go ahead and go through all of the edges on this because I don't really see any value. You can kind of get the idea of how I'm doing it and what I'm looking for. So like I said, edges are a little bit tricky because the criteria is, pretty muddy. But for this particular card, based on what you saw there on the front and what little bit I showed you on the back, I did go ahead and assign this a, let's go ahead and bring it up here. So for the Tom Brady, I went ahead and gave this I thought the edges on the front looked great. A couple minor little issues I found on the back. You didn't really see it there, but then the other ones look pretty good. But overall, I'd say this is a 9.5 on edges. So with this particular card, I gave it a 9 on centering, a 9 on corners. I'm going to go ahead and say it's a 9.5 on edges. So the real kicker here is going to be this surface. And I said it was going to be an 8.5, but I'm really nervous about this because I really don't know those print lines that we looked at in the centering video. And then again on this video, you kind of saw it amplified a little bit more there once we got it under the microscope. I don't know how I'm going to handle that because it doesn't specify it. So we will know when I get this card back. We'll see just how much they dock the surface for that. Because I think if you go back and watch the surface video, a couple little things we noticed there, but nothing significant other than that. So I would say minus those print lines, I would be fairly confident saying this is at least a 9.95 from a surface perspective. But with those lines, I'm hoping we don't get dinged any more than an 8.5. So with that being said, that's kind of the end of the pre-grading videos. So I did want to get these sent in so that everybody could kind of see, okay, we went through this process. We took the time to do it. Now let's see what, we're going to end up getting in terms of results. So I'm going to send in multiple cards. So obviously we're going to send this bad boy in. We already talked about it. Now I think this guy is going to end up getting a 4.5. We already talked about that. Now obviously I'm not going to send these in. I'm just keeping it for my own benefit. So that's number one. Card number 2 is going to be this Tom Brady, which I'm really worried about. But we're going to go ahead and say it's going to get a 9 by the hair on its chinny chin chin. But I would not be 100% surprised if this 8.5 doesn't hold up. Then I've got some other older cards from my collection I'm going to send in. The first one here is this 1954 Bowman John Bauer. This one I think is going to end up getting a 5, with surface being the big kicker on that one. Other one I'm going to send in is another copy of a 1951 Dub Jones. Now I am a little bit worried about this. If you can kind of see in the picture here, there's a little bit of it looks like color loss almost going on here. I'm trying to get the focus to stop moving in and out on you there so you can see that, but it's not wanting to work for me here. So I am a little bit concerned. I gave this a 5.5 on surface. I think that has the potential to hold up, but we shall see. So I'm going to go ahead and say this is going to get a 5.5. Then I have this 1951 Tony Adamley. That I'm going to say is going to get a 5.5 as well. I graded it out at a 6.5, 5.5, and a 9. And then I have a 1954 Harry Jagade. Jagade, I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce that. This one I actually think will get a 6, with the edges being kind of the kicker on this one. And then I have a 1954 Warren Lauer rookie SP, which actually I think this one has a shot at getting a good 7.5 near mint plus. With edges being the driver on this one as well. And I got like a hair or something in there. I'm going to take care of that before I send it. And then the last card here is just for fun. This is a 1990 Pro Set Emmitt Smith rookie card, which I'm saying it's going to get a 9. I think it might have a shot at a 9.5. That's why I'm going to go ahead and send it in, but I'm going to go ahead and conservatively say it's going to come back a 9. So I'm going to go ahead and send that in as well, just to kind of see how that junk wax holds up to CSG. I sent some junk wax into HGA and it held up pretty well, but I haven't sent any junk wax into CSG yet, so I'm going to do that and see if I'm good at estimating what that's going to get. So I'm going to go ahead and record all of these different scores I have for these cards. I'm going to send these all in one lot. When we get it back, we'll compare what I pre-graded them at to what they actually come back at. See how good I am at doing this pre-grading and seeing how well it matches up to CSG. And then obviously the idea here is to learn from it. So hopefully you guys can learn with me. When I get these back, I highly doubt that I will be spot on with everything that I've pre-graded them to. I fully expect for there to be variances. I wouldn't be surprised if I am surprised a couple times. So it will be interesting to get them back. You guys have kind of seen the process I go through. And then we'll kind of see how that translates into results, specifically with CSG and their grading scale, because they are a little bit rougher, it seems, than some of the other graders out there, specifically, PSA and things of that nature. So those I'm going to be sending out here soon. One other thing I did want to share with everybody when it comes to edges is one thing you definitely want to look for when you're looking at your edges is it's a good opportunity to take a look at potential trimming issues. So let me try to find these here. I have some pictures that I had found, and I need to remember where I put them. But I got a card that I was pretty sure had been altered. I bought the card. I paid a decent price for it. It's another Marion Motley rookie card. So you can, if you haven't been able to tell already, I've been really trying to find a good Marion Motley rookie card, better than the 3 that I have personally. And this one that I purchased, the guy swore up and down it wasn't modified in any way, and he very well could have been telling the truth, or telling the truth as far as he knew, but there definitely was some inconsistencies to me that made me believe that it had been potentially altered. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the screen share here. I found the pictures. So this is the card. Now the first thing that made me worry about it was, as I showed you in my video on how I measure the centering, you can see here that the length from top to bottom on the down the left side here is pretty consistent. You got this 0.96 and 0.9. Once you get over here on the right hand side, you can see there's a pretty significant difference between the top and the bottom. Now, had there been a diamond cut issue on this, where this whole inner area was slightly skewed to the outer border, which is common with a diamond cut, I probably wouldn't have worried about it. What I would have expected to see in the case of a diamond cut was this is thinner down here and thicker up here. I'd have expected to see the opposite over here, where I was thin up here and thick down here. I did not see that. So that was kind of the first indicator to me that something was off. The second indicator to me was off is the way this corner looks. So if I go ahead and bring up a different picture here, a little bit of a zoom in, look how weird this edge looks right here. It just does not look clean at all. And a lot of times you'll find that when people have tried to alter or trim a card, they don't get the line cut straight. So to me, there's definitely some suspect things going on in the way that this was done. And then the last thing that I noticed was I looked at the edges. And you can see kind of on this edge, it looks pretty clean, pretty straight. And then you go and you look at this edge, and not so much. Very rough, different. Now this could just be, one side got worn more than the other side. But when I combine those two things with, you can see them kind of side by side here. You can see the differences. And then when you combine those two things with, this unevenness, and then, you can even see it more, you can even see it from a distance once you see it, just how weird that is, and how not straight this whole edge looks, and how off it is without the diamond cut. To me, I would never send this card in to get graded, because I just don't think it's got a chance of coming back anything other than authentic or altered, trimmed to something to that effect. So I actually did return this card, because I purchased it under the pretense that it was a gradable copy, and in my opinion, it clearly was not. So this is something you definitely want to keep an eye out for when you're looking at edges. There's definitely some telltale things you can look for, like a few of the things that I pointed out here that are a dead giveaway. There's potentially something going on. And when you're talking about an older card or something with a lot of value, you definitely do not want to, you know, spend your money sending cards in to get them graded just to find out that they're, you know, altered in some way, and you know it's going to significantly decrease the value of the card once that happens. So there you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the series. I enjoyed making these videos. You know, like I said, I've been trying to kind of perfect my pre-grading, we'll call it procedure for lack of a better term, because I'm really trying to get to a point where, you know, I can evaluate a card using these tools and techniques that I've been sharing with you. And I would like to get to the point where I'm like plus or minus a half a grade, especially with CSG, because that's who I'm sending a lot of my cards to. So I'm focusing more on their specific criteria than I am the other graders. I did bring in, you know, the PSA and the SGC a little bit with centering, just because I wanted to highlight what a significant difference there is between PSA and CSG in terms of centering and grade. You know, how a 60-40 front centering is going to equate to a 8 in CSG, whereas it's got a possible, you know, Gem Mint 10 on PSA, which I personally feel is absolutely ludicrous. But, you know, they've been around a long time. They've been doing it a long time. People are used to it, and they like getting those 10s no matter whether the card's a 10 or not. So I'm not going to get back up on that because I could go on forever about it, and you guys don't want to hear it, and I don't feel like listening to myself talk about it because it ain't going to change anything. So at the end of the day, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, please make sure you give me a subscribe on YouTube. I definitely would appreciate the support there. Additionally, if you want to go check out my Facebook group, you can go search for that. It's Deviation Sports Cards. Give me a follow. It's a private group, so you can join. I'd like to get that a little bit more interactive with people, but so far I don't have a ton of subscribers. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, you know, please go check it out and join up, and you know, maybe we can start doing a little bit more on that page, sharing a little bit more, talking a little bit more, getting each other's opinions on things. That'd be nice to do. So like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed the content. I do have a couple more things coming up, so I should be getting some videos coming out pretty regularly here within the next few weeks, more so than I have previously. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys the next time.